I have a ton of tech waste and no idea what to do with it. I know I can't throw it in the trash, that's illegal. I know there are special recycling centers I could take it to.
Is it
but
illegal?
Some of this stuff still seems valuable to someone. So then I've held
Who
on to
gonna
this for
arrest
years,
you?
thinking maybe I'll donate it or sell it, and then I end up not doing anything with it because it seems like too much work to figure out the best use for it all. I'm not alone here. In 2022, 62 million tons
that's
of
me.
e-waste was created, and less than a quarter of that was recycled. So clearly you guys don't know what to do with your stuff either. But we need to figure it out because the e-waste problem is only growing. We have limited repair options, products already have shorter life cycles because of planned obsolescence, and as we infuse tech into everything, we just end up with more tech waste. In fact, the amount of e-waste being created is growing 5 times faster than it's being recycled. So today, I'm gonna see what the best options are for getting rid of all this stuff. First, I'm gonna take my junk around to figure out what could still be useful to someone and what's ready to be stripped for parts and recycled. But what does it actually look like to recycle tech waste? And are recycling companies gonna be able to keep up with this growing problem? And is there any way that we can slow this problem down? I'm about to head out. I found a few places to go. Here's what I'm bringing. 4 iPhones of varying years. 1 TI-83 calculator that got me through 4 rounds of the ACT that I did terrible on.
Does it work?
1 vape that I do not use. I do not vape. I got this as a prop for a video. 2 MacBook charging cords. And 1 MacBook Air with assorted stickers. And now
Charging
let's see what I can get
cords,
for all this
man.
fantastic stuff. I'm gonna start off
I
seeing
got
what I could
so
sell. I have
many
a couple places I'm going
charging
to.
cords
I
and
did
cable.
pick the absolute
I
hardest
just
day to do
took the box out of the room. I think I just took the box out of the room. Hold on. I got to show you this cuz like this is a real problem for me. It's a real problem. So look at this. Look at this right here. Like, and this is just some. This is just some of the stuff. Like, all this junk, cables. Like, what do you do? What do you do? Like, I thought I'd change this. Okay, now you can see. Now you can see. Look at all this. All this junk. Cables I never use. I needed. Wait, you can't hear me. I needed like a cable for a resin printer, or not the printer, but the curing station or whatever. And out of all these cables, none of them were even. They didn't have the power requirement for it, just to like run a UV light. But I keep all this stuff, and I just can't. I can't bear to get rid of it. I'm like, well, what if I need a cable at some point in the future, somewhere down the line? It's absolutely ridiculous. I don't like. I'm crazy. I'm crazy. But let's see what she has to say about it. I hope she like really goes through and finds the way. Show me the way.
I'm on my way to like a tech pawn shop place called Paymore. All right, I learned a lot in there. It would only take my 2 newer iPhones, the laptop and the calculator. The laptop,
The
it would give
pawn
me
shop
$25,
don't even
the
want it.
calculator $5, and the 2 iPhones, they would give me $80 each for if they were unlocked and the iCloud was disconnected. I also asked how they set their prices, and he said it's all just based on how things are priced on eBay. Also, my laptop was almost at the cutoff where they wouldn't take it. They won't take any laptops older than 2015, and they won't take any iPhones or iPads that still have the home button. They did offer to recycle my stuff that they wouldn't take, and he suggested that I go to Apple and check out the Apple credit for all of those products. I decided to bike to the Apple store. It's so far.
Wow,
I see
if
no
they
closed
still
Apple
have the
store. What's up with
home
that?
button.
It's like too old to, okay.
For a value, yes.
All right, Apple was super convenient. Will give me way more for the 2 new phones, but they are actually saying that my laptop is so old it needs to be recycled and they won't give me a value for it. And with Apple, that's an Apple credit. It's not cash.
10
All right, now
years
it's time
old.
to check out a couple
It's
of
10
recycling
years
centers.
old.
I went to a New York State government website and I found this
I
huge
mean,
list of places to take things, but it wasn't really clear. So I kept looking and I found this from 311, which was much clearer, which says that Best Buy and Goodwill are drop-off centers that should take all my stuff. Hi, I read online that I could donate
they
tech
won't.
waste stuff here. Is that true? Okay, I'm kind of surprised, but Goodwill was a total bust. She seemed
Yeah.
to have no idea what I was talking about, and then she
Yeah, they
confirmed with
don't.
her
I
manager, and she was like,
tried.
we do not accept any electronics here. Next stop for recycling is Best
I don't know
Buy.
about
I feel like
any
I had hopes because I think I've
electronics.
heard of people recycling stuff there before. But we'll see. I would have thought Goodwill worked too. Also, coldness update. My hands are
You can,
frozen from my gloves. But we're powering
Habitats
through
for
in the name of content,
Humanity
in the name of tech waste recycling.
Restore, I think they will take it.
So cool, my eyes are watering. Hi, I read online that you guys accept tech waste recycling. Do you guys do that here? Are you guys loving this sly film myself in public angle? All right, well, in terms of convenience, Best
Yeah,
Buy is
slick.
winning by a mile. They literally just had a big bin that said electronics recycling. She said you don't actually have to wait in the line like I did. You just put it all in there.
What?
If it's a TV or a monitor, they charge a $30 fee for it, but everything else they'll just take and recycle for you, no questions asked. All right, now we figured out
Wow,
recycling and
I
selling.
didn't
So on my way
know
back to the
that.
office, and we're gonna figure out donating. One of the donate places will let you go in person.
But do they
online.
actually
It's not as
recycle
fun,
it?
But we're gonna go figure
That's
out
the
my
question.
options for donating at the office.
Because most likely they just have that there to give you a reason to go there. Although I didn't know that was a thing. I can't remember the last time I've been to Best Buy. It's been at least a year, maybe more. But they probably have that there just to get you to come in the store, and like, since you feel like they're doing something for the environment, you're like, oh, I can buy a new thing. I feel good about buying a new thing here because you let me get rid of the old thing equitably, like made me feel better about it.
Thank you for calling Giving Center.
Hi, I have a MacBook Air from 2015. So for this place, I can donate my old laptop that'll be used by someone in need who applied for it. And it also says that I will get a current market value tax
Computer
deduction.
donation.
So that's pretty good. This other place seems largely the
Oh.
same. I fill out a form online and then they'll email me to schedule a date and time for my drop. The
Wait,
same.
what
I
is-
fill out a form value tax deduction. So that's pretty good.
What
This
is-
other place seems largely
We Care Act New York. Computer donations. Please fill out this form. Blah. That's too much work. It's too much work. And then you probably gotta ship it, and I ain't trying to do all that. There should be services that just pick this stuff up. Like, it should be in the... Like, we're getting to the point where we need that to be a part of the... Like, all that money I paid to the city for the trash and recycling, like... Because that's where it all goes. Like, water don't cost anything. Like, we're not using that much water. It's just the trash and recycling that costs all the money on that utility. And like, they should recycle things like this. They should recycle
largely the same. I
tech
fill out a
stuff.
form online and then they'll email me to schedule a date and time for my drop off. This place says they also accept desktops, tablets, monitors, keyboards and mice, and computer accessories. So some of that stuff will go on to be used for a few more years, but then it'll also need to be recycled. But what does that process
Right.
actually look like? And why can't these recycling companies keep up with the amount of waste we're creating? I found one of the largest e-waste recycling facilities in the US to get an inside look.
Morning. It's like 6 a.m. and we are on our way to Complete Recycling Services just outside Boston. This place processes any and all tech waste, and it's currently processing 10 million pounds of it a year. Today
Should
we're getting a
travel
tour
for
from the owner
this.
Keith, who's going to show us how it all works.
I got so many
So
I got
this
like
is
hard drives.
like half of the building.
So the total volume that we receive is around 5.5 million pounds at this facility. TerraCycle just made another acquisition of a company up in New Hampshire that adds another 8 million pounds to that total. So we're probably in the 12 to 15 million pound category annually for e-waste.
About
Jeez.
70% of this is coming from businesses, 20% from consumers, and 10% from government organizations.
So many of the materials that we take in are
Wait, what was that,
And
Pi?
10% from government
20% from consumers, 10% from government, and 70% from businesses. 10% from government? Huh. I mean, I just find it odd that government is on the list. I don't know. And that's like including the army and stuff. I know, like, or I assume that's including the armed forces. I know that at least in the army, like, they don't, like, I think they're like still on Windows 7 or something like that. Like they stick with like the lower operating systems because they're more stable and they don't need to like update and change stuff every week, even though it seems like they should be using Linux. I don't know, or something. But yeah, that's interesting. But 20% from consumers, yeah.
organizations.
So many of the materials that we take in are driven by regulation. The company that we just acquired up in New Hampshire actually has a segment.
I have a ton
No.
of tech waste and no idea what to do with it. I know I can't
What
throw
did
it
I
in
just press?
I have a ton of tech waste and no idea what to do with it. I know I can't throw it in the trash, that's illegal.
I don't know
there
what
are
I just
The
said.
plastic gets baled here and then
Console TVs from
It's
Okay.
been a huge success in helping to increase recycling rates, but not all states have adopted it yet. Most of what CRS does is called
we take in are driven by regulation. The pounds to that total. So we're probably in
Okay, here's where we
12
were.
to 15 million
It's my
pound
bad.
category annually for e-waste.
About 70% of this is coming from businesses, 20% from consumers, and 10% from government organizations.
So many of the materials that we take in are driven by regulation. The company that we just acquired up in New Hampshire actually has a segment in Maine where they run about 80% of the EPR program, taking back electronic waste.
EPR, Extended Producer Responsibility, is a law that makes companies who produce tech also hit a certain quota of recycling tech waste. It's been a huge success in helping to increase recycling rates, but
Hopefully
not all
it's
states have adopted
enforced.
it yet. Most of what CRS does is called demanufacturing. It's actually just the first step in the chain of recycling, and then they send all those broken down parts to different downstream recyclers, but I'll get into more of that later.
For all the electronics that come in, there's
I
really
would
a
like to
downstream
do
for
that.
everything, with a small exception of maybe some old console TVs from the 60s and 70s that were made with like a press board, glue board. That
I
external
think I would
glue
get a
board,
kick
we
out
don't
of
have a
that
great
job,
recycle option
like
for
I
that.
do.
that's like an incredible amount of stuff that you do have a recycling process for them. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Because you don't have to fix the stuff. You just take it apart and basically just jerry rig everything, but you don't have to put it back together. Like, yeah, this.
They work on one type of tech waste at a
That's a
time, so
job.
it's easier to get into a rhythm, and also because different products have different types of materials they're pulling off to be sorted. On the day we went, they were all processing TVs.
So when TVs come into this facility, they have to be manually taken apart and sorted. There are a few
Right.
main components with TVs. These old TVs have cathode ray tubes. They have leaded glass on one side and clean glass on the other. These go to a company in New Hampshire that pulverizes it and separates the glass. The plastic gets baled here and then shipped to a downstream
And it can be
partner
used
that
again?
pelletizes it and introduces it back into the market, sometimes even for new TVs. This is what it looks like after the plastic
Oh,
is
that's
baled.
cool.
Let's pause here for a second. When I was researching this story, a lot of news was coming out about recycled plastic from tech waste ending up in consumer food
Black-colored
products like
plastic
spatulas
used.
and to-go containers, which like, yikes. So I asked Keith about it. And you said sometimes that plastic goes back to Samsung, for example, a TV manufacturer.
Correct.
Does any of that end up in consumer goods?
It's very possible. It would be limited and restricted from like food grade containers.
I followed up for more info on that and learned that because of their R2 certification from the EPA, CRS and any of its downstream recyclers cannot send their plastic to be used in food products. But not all companies are R2 certified, which is how that plastic ends up in food products anyway. It's a major part of the e-waste recycling system that needs to be fixed to make sure this recycled plastic is used safely by all companies. But back to the recycling
Well,
process.
we
thing
shouldn't.
they're pulling
And the
off the TV.
problem isn't recycled plastic. for like food containers and stuff. Like we shouldn't be using plastic in general for that. Like it's just like evidence after evidence after evidence of that being terrible for us.
These copper yolks, which are worth about 45 cents a pound, and this, for example, is about £1.50. Then those copper yolks and these low-grade boards are sent to a downstream in New Jersey. They'll be smelted for metal recovery.
This copper is one of the most valuable things that CRS recovers from the tech, and it's also one of the most important. We're in a global copper shortage, so we really shouldn't be throwing any of it in the trash.
There's also tons of copper wire coming off these TVs. They're
didn't
given
know
to
that.
Mid-City Steel, who strips it and separates the copper from the plastic. There's also this degaussing wire that's copper and aluminum that's also sent to the downstream in New Jersey.
Another large part of their organization processes batteries, which have to be handled very carefully.
So some of the batteries that they get in are really reactive.
Gonna admit right now, I throw them right in the trash. Right in the trash. I don't even think about it. I just throw it in the trash. Like, what am I supposed to do? I'm supposed to go find one of these recycling centers, like to throw my batteries. Again, this is another thing. Like government needs to get involved. Like I should have a battery, or even if it was like just easier, like every grocery store, or not grocery store necessarily, but like retail store that sells these kind of products should have like a battery recycling center, or a recycling thing like Best Buy has. Like every place, Walmart and Target especially, like those kind of stores should have that kind of thing. Somewhere I'm gonna go, like Home Depot, like that seems like something they should have. Absolutely.
Because they're lithium, so what they do is they literally tape over them, which prevents them from starting a fire.
A lot of batteries look basically identical, so it can be a really
Prevents them from
Run that again?
very carefully.
So some of the batteries that they get in are really reactive because they're lithium, so what they do is they literally tape over them, which prevents them from starting a fire.
A lot of batteries look basically identical, so
They
it can
just
be a really
tape
time-consuming process, so they need a skilled worker to sort them safely and quickly.
It's very confusing because a lot of the alkalins will look identical to the lithiums. So our sorting person is pretty well versed with determining which type is which. I believe this
What
is
would
probably
happen
a
if they
a
got
lithium.
mixed up?
Well, again,
Right.
you just run the risk of a fire if you had lithiums mixed in with alkalins.
Where does the Laffy Taffy go?
I didn't know
Goes
that.
with the watch. Metal's very conducive, and if the positive and negative touch, it'll short circuit. The tape eliminates that.
Where do these batteries go from here?
These batteries go to
Like
one
just
of our
plastic tape.
R2 certified downstreams down in Georgia, where it'll literally grind up all the batteries and it'll separate off any of the metals and any of the hazardous components where they reclaim.
So what I'm learning a lot of today is that it's very hard to process anything fully in one facility. It sounds like a lot of, well, you guys break it down and do what you can and then pass along the smaller parts to the other people that specialize in those.
That's pretty accurate, and that's very typical with most e-waste recyclers.
Here are the downstreams where all of the commodities from CRS go. They're a mix of independent companies and other companies that are owned by the same parent company. Some tech waste is more valuable than others based on how hard it is to process and what it's made of. For example, older GPUs have a lot more
I'm in
gold and
awe of
silver
this,
than new
by the
ones.
way.
So some of the products cost CRS to
I
sell
love
to
that
the
that
downstreams,
company exists.
like cathode ray tube TVs and batteries, because they have hazardous materials that are expensive to process. But some of the commodities CRS gets paid for, like the circuit boards, wire, and plastic, because they're easier to process and the end commodity is easy to sell. The only thing CRS processes all the way through is mercury, which is found in a lot of the lights for TVs and laptops. Handling mercury here requires special certifications, approval from the city, tons of equipment, and employee protections. But CRS goes through all of this because it gets them more business.
Many states have regulated electrical components and mercury-containing devices into a category called universal waste, where it really drives recycling.
So this giant machine here takes the mercury out of glass that might be in the back of a display on your computer or your TV, and now this is just glass with no mercury. But what happens to the mercury? So the remaining mercury is processed here and recovered. This is basically a giant oven. The oven gets up to about 700 degrees Celsius for 10 hours and the mercury is vaporized. So this stuff in here has already been cooked, it's just cooling down, and the mercury goes over here. So the mercury vapor travels through this tube where it's filtered through carbon.
I feel like
and
she
then
should be
cooled
wearing
into
some
its liquid
protection.
Form, where it's collected in this drum, which is full of liquid mercury. They fill it once every 3 to 4 months, and then they can sell it back to the market as pure mercury.
Processing mercury not only lets them accept
Huh.
new types of e-waste, but it also makes them great money on the back end. But if some e-waste is expensive to process, why not just turn it away and only accept the stuff that makes money?
We typically want to be a one-stop shop. We still accept components where it costs us more to process
That's a
by charging
good
a little
question.
bit more on the front end. And it's an added value to the customer. So if they're shipping us cathode ray tubes, they may also be sending fluorescent light bulbs and batteries and other tech components that contain more value.
CRS has a really strong business model because they charge people on the front end to collect their waste, which they're willing to pay for because it's so convenient. Then any value from the commodities recovered on the back end is just a bonus instead of trying to rely on that as their main form of income. Another reason their business is so strong is that regulation is working in their favor.
So many of the items that we bring in are legally bound to be recycled due to some rules called universal waste rules. So for example, all the fluorescent lighting, all the batteries, many states actually put electronics into universal waste as well. They need to be recycled rather than disposed of.
CRS's size and the fact that they have
This
a
is
much
such a
larger
good
parent company
business.
also helps them stay competitive because they can afford more advanced certifications from the EPA.
A lot of the certifications have thinned out
Can I
some
do
of the
this?
smaller
Can I-
mom and pop competitors. In order to be a player in this industry, you really need to be R2 certified or E-Stewards, which is a
Yeah.
significant expense. Many of the requests for pricing and bids
Hmm.
and proposals that we receive mandate that the processor be R2 certified.
To get the R2 certification from the EPA, not only does your factory have to meet those requirements, but all of your downstream processors have to meet the same standards. As a product of the Jewel in the middle school bathroom generation, I've seen just how fast those nicotine addicts burn through those neon adult pacifiers. Americans are throwing out 4.5 vapes
That
a
was a
second.
sentence.
So why aren't there any vapes here?
So as a company, we're very interested in receiving vapes and e-cigarettes. There is a gray area, however, in the regulations where if the vapes or e-cigarettes contain liquid, it puts them into a hazardous waste category currently in most states. So we're not able to receive them.
Tech waste is a problem that's gonna get worse before it gets better.
That
We're
makes
burning through
sense.
tech waste faster than ever, and current recycling efforts just can't keep up. There are some positive things, though. There are
Actually,
growing
it doesn't
movements
make
to
a
push
lot of
back against
sense.
planned
How's that
obsolescence
hazardous
and increased
waste?
right to repair laws. And a growing portion of Gen Z is choosing used phones over new phones, decreasing their consumption. Government regulation has helped a lot with things like extended producer responsibility laws. But they could help a lot more if they would adapt to new types of tech waste faster, like vapes, to make it easier for recyclers to
what was
produce
that?
responsible phones over new phones, decreasing. Some positive things, though. There are growing movements to push back against planned obsolescence and increase right to repair laws. And a
Good.
growing portion of Gen Z is choosing used phones over new phones, decreasing their consumption. Government regulation has helped a lot with things like
I
extended
feel like
producer
that's not
responsibility
true.
laws. But they could help a lot more if they would adapt to new types of tech waste faster, like vapes, to make it easier for recyclers to process those.
Oh, shoot.
But as we saw, tech waste recycling takes a lot of difficult, expensive labor, so even with clearer regulation, this process is still messy. For now, as a consumer, the most important thing to do is make sure you're properly getting rid of all your tech waste. You can donate or sell whatever still has useful life and take the rest to a recycling center. But before you get rid of your old laptop, use it to check out Nebula. If you don't know by now, Nebula is the hottest new streaming service where you can watch videos without any ads from tons of great creators, including me. And if you sign up with this link, not only do I
You
get a
can
cut of
watch
it, thanks, but also
videos
you
without
can get
any
40% off.
ads
That's
on
what we in
YouTube.
business call a win-win. On Nebula, you can stream all my Morning Brew videos with no
With
ads.
YouTube
So if you like
Premium,
learning
not
about
with
why
a
it's so hard to get rid of
ad
your
blocker.
tech waste, you can also watch me figure out how marathons make money, what it's like to run a hot dog cart, and how the food delivery industry works. You can watch all your favorite Morning Brew franchises ad-free, like Morning Brew Daily and Good Work. And speaking of good work, host Dan Toomey was recently in an original show on Nebula called The Getaway. It's a competition series following 6 creators on a road trip as they compete against each other and try to find out who the snitch is that's sabotaging them. But the twist is, they're all the snitch. So give your old laptop a beautiful send-off by using it to sign up for Nebula at this link for 40% off, and then recycling it. The circle of life. I've never seen one of these signs in real
I
life.
don't understand
It's not
how
just a
that
meme.
series is
TVs
entertaining.
are so
I don't-
weird. Who knew?
It's
I don't know.
when you put your hand in it.
So
Better you than me.
Should I have a hazmat suit?
yes, probably. That's what I was saying. That's funny that came up. What was it? Morning Brew. Morning Brew. I really like that video. Only 400,000 views. I feel like this deserves more. It's been up a month. It's over their amount of subscribers. Morning Brew. I might have to check this out more. Like I like this. I really like how that video was put together. And I got a lot of information. Like that was so informative on something that's like a real problem for me. I'm looking to see like recyclers in my area. There's a Beyond Surplus. Where is this? What? This is not. Where's this? I don't recognize any of these streets. This is not near me. Smyrna? Where the hell is Smyrna? I don't see. This is the problem. Like, there should be a place like this in every major city. Like, I shouldn't have to go to Smyrna for this. They're building a whole Hyundai plant and don't have a. All right. Anyways, that was a good one. I'm gonna research more, see how I can get rid of this junk.